Summer was over in Albania, which for me meant one main thing. Now was the time to travel. Now that most of Europe had returned to their homes to dive back into their working lives, it was time for me to set my sights on something I had been planning for a while. But if I was going to be out of town for a bit, I had to get a few things in order. First, I had to make sure I had someone lined up to water my plants. I have left them during the winter for a while without water, but now with the weather being significantly warmer, I don't want to take that risk. I also had to check in at work and make sure everything was running smoothly enough for me to be out of town. I'm blessed enough to have a job that doesn't need me physically present at all times, so it allows me to travel a good bit, and for decently long stretches. But despite that, whenever I travel, I need to make sure that I can be reachable in case something comes up. So before I hit the road, I opened the Airalo app. If you haven't used it before, Airalo gives you access to eSIMs. Basically, digital SIM cards so you can stay connected without swapping anything out or dealing with roaming fees. You just pick the country you're going to, choose a plan that fits your trip, install it through the app, and you're online in a few minutes. I've used eSIMs for a while now, and this trip to Romania was no different. Whether I was booking last-minute places to stay, navigating back roads through the mountains, I just needed to stay connected, not for social media, but for practical reasons. For maps, messages, quick searches, the kind of quiet support that makes a road trip just go smoother. So if you're planning a trip anytime soon, download the free Airalo app and use my code JamesL3 to get $3 off your first eSIM. It takes just a few minutes to set up, and it works in over 200 countries and regions. And if you missed it, don't worry. The link and the code are at the top of the description, and I'll pin them in the first comment. It's one of those small things that makes travel easier and a little more spontaneous. Thanks to Airalo for sponsoring this video and for making my trip that much easier.
Albanians. I hadn't really thought about that. And then I started watching more videos, including James's.
With unlimited internet on my phone and international insurance for my car, I packed up and hit the road. After a relatively uneventful journey across North Macedonia, I crossed into Bulgaria. In all my research about driving in these countries, I somehow never came across the fact that I would need a vignette. So when I passed by a road toll car immediately after crossing into the country, I realized my mistake. And before I came across another, I pulled off to the side of the road to purchase the vignette online. Thankfully, I had already activated my Airalo eSIM, so purchasing the vignette was quick. My mistake may still result in a hefty fine arriving in the mail in a few weeks, but I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. After talking to a few friends with knowledge of Bulgaria, I elected to spend one night in a town called Veliko, Tarnovo. The drive took much longer than expected, so I didn't have as much time to explore as I wanted. I spent an evening in the hotel getting some rest, and the morning having meetings for work before jumping back on the road and heading to the shores of the Danube.
Finally here. What's up?
Long trip from Albania.
Yes, sir.
The first order of business upon my arrival in Bucharest was to find my good friend Tyler. I went to Romania largely because Tyler had this dream of a Transylvanian road trip, and when he floated the idea to me a while back, I was more than happy to join. So after a night in Bucharest and a few errands to find the last few essentials for our expedition, we made our way towards the mountains and up the world-famous Transfăgărășan Highway.
There's because there are a lot of
The weird thing here is that you pump all your gas and then you go and pay for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. New Zealand is also like that. It confused the heck out of me when I first went to New Zealand. I was like, how do I pay for my gas?
And we're off.
Fine. Now comes the fun part. This is why I drove so long.
Yeah.
For this. To drive more.
I have seen pictures of the Transfăgărășan for years, and for most of those years, it has been marked on my Google Maps as a place I want to visit. I wanted to be able to stand on the side of the road and look at the way it snaked its way down the mountain. What I didn't know, however, was that the part of the road leading up to the summit would be just as incredible as the top, if not more so.
Bear number 4.
Oh, bro, seriously?
Dude.
and after winding our way back down the mountain road that I had dreamed of for years, we set our sights on a nearby stream, looking for a place to set up camp for the night. We found a few decent sites along the bubbling water, but each of them had some small aspects that we didn't particularly like. And while I was tired from all of the driving from the last few days and just wanted to set up camp in the first spot we found, Tyler pushed back, and I'm so glad he did. He didn't want to compromise. We had the sunlight and enough energy to push a bit longer until we found the perfect spot to rest.
sharpened it recently.
Those are cooking fast.
It's a medium.
Hey,
Still
I'll take it over an open flame. I'll take a medium.
Yeah.
I woke up with the sun the following morning and tried to be fully present in the moment, soaking up the warmth of the golden rays coming over the distant mountains that sliced their way through the sky.
What's up? How are you? Ah, they just fall off. It's crazy. Look at this. Let's swipe it.
I'm gonna eat them, bro.
Oh,
Sorry.
no, don't be sorry.
Here, this one can be for you.
just for the wider angle.
Sure. Oh man, look! If you look up, it's...
Dude, yeah, they're growing up the tree.
We took our time packing up camp and had one final dip in the frigid stream before moving on, this time towards a part of the country that I knew nothing about. I had been given a tip about a very different type of mountain road, and Tyler and I were both chomping at the bit to see what the hype was about. We stopped for a quick lunch and enjoyed a traditional Romanian dessert, before taking a sharp left turn off the main road and onto what looked like a hiking path. We quickly gained elevation and pushed on along the single-lane forest road with no knowledge of what we were going to face along the way. All I knew was that a local guy had told me he took his similar van along the same route mere weeks before, and that mine would be able to make it. So we plunged forward, on faith and the scent of adventure.
Crazy. Big boulder there, as you see. Okay, this is going to be a gnarly spot.
For the second night in a row, we were tired from driving and looked at every potential campsite with hope. Yet we kept saying to each other, let's just see what's around the next bend, what the view looks like over the next hill, before we shut off the engine and collapse onto the soft ground for the evening. And for the second night in a row, we were so happy we did. Because when we stumbled on this overlook with a clear view out to the west overlooking a lake, we knew we had found our spot.
Welcome to the crew, friend. Yep.
The clouds that had been hanging low all day drifted by slowly. The wind came and went, and we were joined by a new friend.
They're perfect for small cameras.
Yes. Yeah, big ones, they're too heavy. Oh, fuck. Guys, we just got to the... Oh. Dude. That's so awesome. Shit, I wish I had my drone.
And as we set up camp and began to cook dinner, I kept one eye on the horizon. There was a small break in the clouds that I knew had some potential for a good show. After countless evenings spent on the beaches in Maui, I've learned a bit about trying to read the conditions for what makes a memorable sunset, and I did my best to call on that knowledge now. Never fully knowing if I would be right or not, but clinging on to the little remnant of hope that our patience would pay off. And as the trajectory of the sun started to move towards the bottom of the cloud bank, I sat in a chair and watched the horizon. For a brief moment, I looked down at my phone, until I was interrupted by an excited shout from Tyler, and my eyes shot back up to the distance. And just as we had hoped, the sun decided to come out of hiding. As the last edge of the sun descended behind the mountain peaks, the real spectacle commenced. The sun made one final, desperate attempt to showcase its beauty, lighting the clouds on fire. We got there's the two best sunsets are when you have the orb dropping behind something, and then the cloud, and if the clouds light up. And we got both after barely seeing the sun for like the last 2 or 3 hours.
We got lucky.
Even if we get terrible sleep tonight, it was still worth it.
Absolutely.
best kinds of sunsets are the ones that are long and lingering. The ones that give you time to take it all in, take a few photos, and then put the cameras to the side and just bask in the afterglow, reminiscing on the day's adventures.
Are these two and this one, or what?
I have curtains for my van, but for some reason I didn't put them up. And when I woke up to the cotton candy clouds of another glorious sunrise, I was happy I had been too lazy to put up the curtains the night before.
Pretty impressive how they do it.
We had another long day ahead of us, slowly crawling the rocky paths along the spine of this small range, until it opened up to alpine meadows, dotted with roaming cattle idly grazing their way across the peaks.
Yeah, I would straddle to the right personally.
And then kind of drop a little bit.
Yeah. Nice and slow.
And then as abruptly as it started, the Strategica track ended, spitting us out onto a main road. So we set the GPS to our next destination and headed off on the shortest path to get there, not realizing that we would find ourselves driving a narrow road through the kind of lush jungle that would be the home to fairies and pixies. After camping under a canopy of stars for 2 nights, Tyler and I chose to spend the night in a nearby town. And as much as I love camping, and as comfortable as I've made my van to be, there's something to be said about spending the night in a house without bugs, and with an air conditioner on full blast.
Describe this. We lose. Oh, wow.
A good night's sleep and a hot shower does wonders when you've been traveling. And so after both of those, Tyler and I set out to explore the only reason we found ourselves in the town of Hunedoara, Corvin's castle. And then it was on to the next destination of our journey, Târgu-Mureș, another town that never would have come across our radar, if not for one very specific thing: an incredibly hospitable man named Robert.
Hello.
Head south on Strategica, then turn left.
Hi.
Hi. Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
How are you?
I'm pretty fine, thanks.
Sorry for pulling you away from the wedding.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's cool.
We're sorry to be
No,
inconvenient.
it's completely fine. I didn't think that it was finally gonna happen to meet in person, but it's so cool.
Surprise!
I was just doing some business things and I look up and your van is coming and it's like, is this really happening?
Robert found my YouTube channel many years ago when he was planning a trip to Albania. When I was in Romania in April, he had reached out asking if I was going to be around in his region. I told him that when I came back with my van, I would make a point to stop and see him. And that's how Tyler and I found ourselves pulling up to a random apartment block in the middle of a city that we didn't know existed to spend 2 days with a man we had never met. Come on, man. Robert and I had had a couple of phone calls when I was planning this trip to Romania, and Tyler and I owed many of our experiences over the previous few days to the input Robert had given me about the country and where we should go. It was literally only because of him that we knew about the random entry into the Strategica off-roading track instead of driving right past it without a second thought. Despite not knowing him before this trip, Robert felt like an old friend. All three of us have a great love for being in nature and documenting what we are seeing and experiencing. As a filmmaker himself, Robert was on the same page with everything we were doing. I'm so used to being the one person filming when traveling. I'm typically the only one recording, even if I'm with other people. So the fact that Tyler was there to capture so many of the moments that I missed made everything about this trip so much easier. And now that we had Robert joining our little crew for a bit, we had yet another filmmaking mind in the mix, not to mention a guide.
This is a special Hungarian treat. May I take video? Oh, thank you. Wow. So it looks like it's dough rolled up, and then they roast it over coals, and they have the toppings. It looks incredible.
Robert led us along the country roads of Romania, meandering through tiny village after village that we never would have seen in any other circumstance. Passing car after car displaying Romanian tags, ours being the only foreign plates for miles. As we drove, his voice would come crackling through the walkie-talkie, pointing out favorite spots of his as we passed, or explaining an interesting fact about the area. What Google said would have been a 3-hour drive quickly turned to 6, as we took our time embracing the journey. We stopped along the roadside for traditionally made snacks, or took short detours to find art installations and viewpoints. The kind of places that I would have overlooked had I been traveling on my own. The hours ticked by without much notice, and as the sun slowly started to sag, we arrived at our final destination, Racoș.
Two guys walking down the street.
After exploring the area surrounding the lake and the extinct volcano, we found a level place to park up the vans and for Tyler to pitch his tent, and settled in for another evening under the stars, which shone even brighter thanks to a full lunar eclipse.
This fox is coming right towards us.
Let's just hope it doesn't have any rabies. Rabies equals death, right?
What is happening right now?
The sun was bright and warm the next morning, and as our trip was coming to a close, we explored yet another castle. This one less commercialized than the last. While there was far less information about it than Corvin's castle, it was intriguing in other ways. We couldn't read about how the castle was used or developed over time, but we could feel it. Walking down the hallways and climbing the towers, I could envision people living in it hundreds of years ago. I could almost hear the crackle of the torches lining the walls, and the voices echoing down the corridors. After the castle, we parted ways with Robert, forever indebted to him for providing us with the guidance to make this one of the most incredible trips of my life, for opening his home and his life to us, two strangers from the internet. And as he headed off towards his next adventure, Tyler and I set our sights on one final place to sleep, near the airport in Bucharest. That final evening was spent dumping footage onto hard drives, repacking all of our bags, and savoring the last few moments we had together before we both went our separate directions. Tyler heading back home to the United States, and me hitting the road yet again for the long drive back to Pogradets.
Thanks for driving and everything, bro. For sure. Amazing.
Hope you feel better. Hope you get back to the U.S. when you need to.
I hope so too, but I'm damn sure everything will be alright.
Yeah.
Alright, bro. You have a safe trip. And why don't you message me when you get to Albania?
Okay.
Just so I know that you're there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I will. Alright. I sent you the screenshot of all everything.
Yeah, I saw.
Cool.
You need help with anything?
And as the sun crept up, I gripped the wheel and turned up the music. I had a long day ahead of me, but I was confident that with all of the memories from the past week I had to reflect on, the hours would pass quickly.
Head northwest on STR.
Thanks for sticking with me. I'll be back soon.